Good evening, guys, and welcome back to the classroom with Architect Mark. Tonight, on Lightroom, we're just going to go about a developing sequence. Well, this is the sequence that I normally use for actually any type of photograph, and it works really well, actually. So I think 12 minutes is just the right. I think it's actually quite long, but with explanations and all that, it should be just enough. Okay, so let's go ahead on over to the classroom and check out a developing sequence right here. So I think we could maintain me here over here at the left because, well, the develop uh, tools will be here on the right. So, okay, this is a photo, as you can see here. It has nothing yet on it except a GPS coordinate. Yeah. Okay, so that's all it has. All right. So we go on to the develop panel and then start the timer there. And normally all of these are on. So let's do that first. Detail, split toning, tone curve, and basic. So of course, what you want to do is to balance out the histogram. And how you do that is first, you control the highlights and the shadows by eliminating all of the highlights. This means all of the blown out or extremely white areas are going to be tempered. You do that by sliding this bar completely to the left. So as you can see, there's a significant change in the brightness of the photo. Now next, what is advised is you could increase the shadows. This will pull up detail from your photograph. That means of the areas that look like they're black, okay, like this area right here. If you pull up shadows by pushing it to the right, you suddenly are able to see details that are originally obscured from. Now, your photo, you might be thinking, okay, my photo looks a little bit different now because when you move these two, you effectively eliminated the white and the black. So now we have to return it. So we push whites and you can see it happening over here. This is the white area and this is the black area. You see that no part of the graph touches that. So we want to touch that. So we'll push white, but while we're pushing this, we'll hold down the Alt key, or I think this is the Command key for Mac, but we'll hold down the Alt key and then move the white over. Now you can see that the screen has turned black. This means that right now there are no whites in the image. So when we push it slowly until we see a glimmer of white. You can see it also there. Okay, once you see something creep up on the screen, like right now there's a small green indicator there, screen. Let's push it a little bit more, but let's go back to the small green one. So stop there. That means that in our photo right now, there is a white. There's a little bit of white. Okay. Now we want to restore the black. So we do that on the reverse side. But blacks, unlike whites, you don't need to just stop when it's back. You can push it a little bit more. If you feel that, okay, I want these areas to be absolutely black, you can push it like so. So now this is more or less a balanced version of the image. Let's look at the comparison. This is what we have right now. And then this was what it was before. So as you can see, there's a lot more detail here that you can see. And it's overall more neutral state of the photo to be in. Like the colors are all uh, present and the detail is much more than what we can see here. Right. So next part here is more subjective because it deals about the how much the emotion that you want to be released by your photo. This is distempering. It's a little bit subjective. Now you have controls over presence here. Like you can increase the vibrance. If you're not sure what a slider does, you can just push it to max and then just put it back where you found it, which is 0. So you have vibrance control, and then you have clarity. So as you can see, clarity is like a sharpness meter in this way. It's like it's bumping up the ISO. So if you go low, it blurs out stuff, and then if you go high, some of the things are suddenly become contrasty. And then saturation basically increases the levels for all the colors. Okay, so without adjusting the presence, normally my default is to translate this trait into an S-curve, which is a very popular technique. There's S and reverse S. What that means is we're going to generate an S from this flat line. So you go here, pull it down. As you can see, the image is getting progressively darker, and you pull this one up, which restores the light. So with a little bit more until you get the taste that you're going for. So once again, let's look at the comparison. It might seem that not a lot has changed, but you can see that this is more, there's more presence in this photo, actually. That's primarily because of the tone curve control. Now, there is also a reverse S technique, which bumps up here, and then we create something like that. So this makes it more of like it's more like a filter than anything. But of course, yeah, if you mess this up, you can always reset it. Reset that. Okay, so the curve was reset. We'll once again return it to the S curve if we want. Okay. Just to where you feel like it suits your taste. So once that's done, you can of course control the HSL if you wanted, but we're not going to do that now because this photo has like 4 major colors on it. So of course, let's turn off this brown here by desaturating it. We remove the orange and the yellows. Let's restore it a little so that it looks like a newspaper at least. Okay, so that's about that for HSL. Now here on the detail part, you have sharpening control, and you have a small preview window. So you just choose which area you want the sharpest, and so with this tool, you can make sure that that area is being affected. Now, the thing with sharpness is you don't want it to affect the entire image. So what you do is you mask it out. And how you control this masking is by, again, pressing Alt. And then when you push it, you can see that pure white, the sharpening effect affects everything. Pushing it out, and you can see that some of the areas become obscured until you just want the areas that you want sharpened, the ones with white will be sharper. So now all of the edges here have been sharpened. Next, you have luminance, radius and detail. That's finer control for sharpening. Next, we have luminance, which will smoothen out our photo. That would effectively remove artifacts like these small speckles that we see here. So you can push it high so that you'll see the effect much more dramatic. So as you can see, it became like thoroughly smoothened out with 83 luminance. So you can use that actually. Normally, we go, normally I did luminance under 50. Just a rule of thumb. So it can be relative. But here, in this particular photo, because it's dark, let's go to 75. Color, we don't seem to need it. So we'll skip that. And then you normally check this off, remove CA, even if we don't see it, because it might be there. It's basically it kills off a highly reflective surface or something that has been completely whitened out and that there's aberration showing. Profile corrections, if you want to like straighten your image much more than what normal rotation won't do, you can enable this. Oh, yeah. If you know the lens, you can do that. If you don't, you just go here to transform. And then vignetting is mostly a taste sort of thing. So that's about it. That's the general developed path that I usually take with photos. So neutralize it, and then that's when you add the trauma. That's why raw footage is normally neutral or grayish in tone. So let's just see the comparison one more time. This is the original photo, and this is the photo as it is right now. And is there a dramatic improvement? You will really appreciate this if and when you have the photo printed out. So you can see the there are no smudgy areas like that. So when it comes out in the photograph, it will look really nice. Like all the lines here are solidified, and it's much more, it suddenly becomes like a higher resolution because of the edits that we did earlier. And even if we pulled up shadow detail, you can see here that it's much more pronounced now. So there is a benefit to doing the development, and it's basically a simulated version of what you would do when you were dipping it in the developing solution. So that's it for now. I hope you learned something with this very simple yet very effective develop uh, workflow. And I will see you guys again tomorrow or the day after that. All right? Take care. Good night.